everyone, and welcome to the third annual Voices for Truth and Humanity Gala. I would like to start by introducing my friend Gary Glick, who is the commander of the New York State Jewish War Veterans, and he will be coming on the stage now to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay, just before I do have the Pledge of Allegiance, I just want to say the Jewish War Veterans were established in 1896, the Hebrew Association, and we were started in 1896. And we started because of a certain party said that, we did not serve during the wars, and we did. And it happened to be Mark Twain. And in 1896, we were formed in New York City on Lexington Avenue at that date. And we have the papers to show it. And we're still going strong, and we always served during every war. And I just want to give this is from the national commander of the of the whole United States, of all the Jewish war veterans, Nelson Meltzer. The Jewish War Veterans of the USA is the patriotic voice of American Jewry. JWV is dedicated to support all American military and veterans. The JWV will fight against anti-Semitism wherever it raises its ugly head, support the state of Israel, and continue to be the voice of the Jewish war veterans. Nelson Meltzer, who just was... Now, for my part, okay. Good evening, fellow voice, distinguished guests, brothers and sisters in our great cause. I stand before you today being a transformed person. Yes, transformed. When I first started, I was very shy. I didn't get involved. And before I knew it, I became commander of the Jewish War Veterans and now the state commander, and been working with the people from Voices. And I really found my niche and to help out. And now I have become a new strength and purpose, have also advanced to commander of the JWV for New York State. This has also given me the air of our national leadership and additional avenues to follow in spreading our message of hope and peace. It was great pride that I joined forces with Voices and look forward to success in spreading our message for betterment of life all we touch. At this time, may we pay our respects to our nations, which has given us the opportunities that no other country can match: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Let us rise, and we will be led by Maury, who's 100 years young. Present the colors, please. Color guard.
Color guard. Forward, march. Color guard, halt. Color guard, left, face. Present arms.
All right, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America. It's America. And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order, arms.
Okay. National anthem will be, okay. Eric.
Color guard, present arms.
Okay. Eric. You can, okay. 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 Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light, by the dawn's early light, that we had as the twilight lights as clean. Our flag was still days dead. Color guard, please retire the colors.
Color guard, right face. Color guard, forward, march.
Good evening, everyone. It really is a privilege to join with all of you in support of Voices for Truth and Humanity. What a very important concern for us all to be identified with this organization. You've heard it already, and you'll be hearing it throughout the evening, how important it is that we not forget the world history and understand the context of the times that we are living through. So I really want to commend and acknowledge the great work of this organization, the board members, the leaders, Jack Britvan and Glenn Landau and Hank Levy and Angel Zapata, and all of those who give their time and effort to make Voices the very important and successful organization that it is. How about a round of applause for the board members? And it's certainly a privilege to be in the company of your very special guests, a dear friend of mine and someone who has done so much for all of us across New York State. Our Regent, Roger Tillis, joins us. Roger, great to see you. And Martin Block, and talk about history and understanding that we can never forget. Martin, thank you for being a survivor and a witness and sharing your important story with everyone. And Prime Minister Hudayar, thank you for your presence and being with us as well. Give the Prime Minister a round of applause. I didn't see our friend Rabbi Potasnik yet, but it's always great to be in his company as well. To the honorees, certainly to Rabbi Mark Golub and the Jewish Broadcasting Service, City National Bank, represented by Davi, congratulations to you. And a special word about our Public Service Award honorees, our two legislators, because that really gets to the point of what Glenn and Angel were talking about. The importance of education and understanding must happen in our schools. It must happen with our youngest citizens. And that's an area where we know we have been falling short. And it took leadership, incredible leadership by two individuals to really bring this issue to the fore in New York State. It's not easy to get legislation passed in New York State, but these two individuals are people I know well. Very appropriate that you are honoring them because they have really come through with the Holocaust education. We used to call it the bill, now it's the law. State Senator Anna Kaplan, who happens to be my personal state senator, I'm very proud to say, is a tenacious fighter on so many issues. She does an extraordinary job in the Senate. She was a great member of our town board. She is an advocate for our business community, chairs an important committee in that regard, but she really made it her mission to have this bill become a law. And she needed a partner in the state assembly. You can't get anything done in Albany without the assembly along with the Senate. And an assembly member, Neely Rosick, from our neighboring county of Queens, she found someone who is equally fierce in working with legislative colleagues to get the job done. So Senator Kaplan and Assemblymember Rosick, they worked long and hard on this legislation, and they had to convince their colleagues, and it wasn't as easy as you may think, that yes, we may have something on the books that says this must be taught in the schools, but it's just not happening, and the state education department must do a better job to provide oversight and implementation of these programs. They could not have done it without great support, and I also want to acknowledge our Assembly colleague, Steve Stern from Suffolk and Nassau County in the new district, who also was such a key part of this initiative. We all know the painful history, but we want to make sure the next generation knows it. And in the context of the times we're living in, as I referred to very briefly, we have to acknowledge that there's a terrible increase in hate crimes, much of that directed to the Jewish community, even in our own state, even in our great city of New York. This has to be troubling and concerning. And I have to believe that part of the problem is that some of the folks just don't understand the history. And that's why this legislation is so key. And it's also an opportunity for us to recognize that there are other issues out there that we must continue to be focused on. I know it's not quite in the context of Holocaust education, but I'm very concerned about the corrosive impact of the BDS movement, boycott, divest, and sanction with regard to Israel. And I want to report to you, so those of you who don't know it, we have a very specific policy with the pension fund that I manage, that any company that engages in BDS activity, we will divest our pension funds from them. And we did that recently with Unilever, you know, the Ben & Jerry's issue that's been out there, because there's a thin line between what we're talking about and what is going on in that regard. So there's a lot of work to do. But the individuals who you are honoring tonight are certainly individuals and organizations who have been making an incredible difference. And I really want to particularly commend my colleagues in state government for tackling this issue. Anna Kaplan, Senator Kaplan, and Assemblymember Rosick, they really have made a difference, because we want to make sure the young people coming up today understand what happened, understand that in a civilized Western society, how the civil government, how the judiciary, how the military was completely subverted and turned against the Jewish community and so many other communities. It happened not that long ago, and we want to make sure it never happens again. So thank you for your support of this wonderful organization.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. It seems like just a couple of weeks ago we were together celebrating great accomplishments, and it really is a privilege to be back with everybody for some very special presentations this evening. First of all, to my good friends Glenn and Angel, thank you for all of the outstanding work that you do for all of us who are part of this very important organization. So thank you. And to my very, very good friend, who we could probably all agree is by far the greatest public servant in the great state of New York, our great comptroller, Tom DiNapoli. Thank you, Tom. So this is a special presentation for me. When you have had the opportunity to serve for a few years in government at a couple of different levels of government and do important work with a lot of vital organizations, once in a while you get recognized for the work that you do. And so there might be plaques, there might be certificates, there might be proclamations. Last year, on this evening, being the recipient of great recognition from this organization, the award was a baseball bat. And I can tell you that, and my wife yells at me on almost a daily basis, that as the rabbi said before, never forget, with an exclamation point. I'm swinging that baseball bat in my living room on almost a daily basis. Every time a Met game comes on, I can tell you that I'm swinging that bat as I'm watching the game. So certainly, I will never forget. And I will never forget that great honor from this wonderful organization. So with that, it is really my personal pleasure to make the the introductions to our honorees this evening. And I got to tell you, it is really a pleasure for me because they happen to not just be outstanding representatives of their districts and members of the New York State Legislature, but they also happen to be good friends. And so let me first introduce the first recipient, Senator Anna Kaplan. Anna Kaplan was born Anna Manahami in Tabriz, Iran, to a Jewish family. When the Islamic Revolution swept the country, Anna's parents made the difficult decision to send her on her own to the United States for her safety. She arrived in Brooklyn as part of an international effort to save Iran's Jewish children, led by the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and was sent to live with a foster family in Chicago where she learned to speak English, her fourth language, having been raised speaking Aramaic and Farsi at home and learning Hebrew. Senator Kaplan was granted political asylum by the United States government. After her family was finally reunited, they moved to Queens, where Anna graduated from Yeshiva University, Stern College for Women, and then the Cardozo School of Law. Today, she has devoted her life to public service as a way of giving back to the country that has given her so much, becoming the first and only Jewish refugee elected to the New York State Legislature. Now serving in her second term as New York State Senator representing the 7th Senate District in Nassau County, Anna has been an outspoken voice against anti-Semitism and hate and a strong supporter of Israel and of efforts to teach our children the history of the Holocaust. Additionally, she has fought to protect women's access to reproductive health care and to stop senseless gun violence, authoring landmark legislation to protect reproductive health care access and to make ghost guns illegal in the state of New York. I know firsthand Senator Kaplan's great work. We've had the opportunity to co-author and co-sponsor several important legislative initiatives which have now become law and have made a real impact for so many throughout the state of New York, particularly on economic development issues and supporting our local businesses. Assemblywoman Neely Rozek has a tremendous introduction. I'm going to go through much of it. But I would tell you that there are few better legislators in the New York State Assembly than Assemblymember Rozek. Neely represents New York's 25th District, which spans the eastern portion of Queens. Upon her election in 2012, Assemblywoman Rozek became the youngest woman in the state legislature and the first woman to ever represent the 25th District. She's currently the chairwoman of the Assembly's Committee on Consumer Affairs and Protection, which works to protect consumers from fraud and discriminatory business practices, ensure data privacy, and regulate credit and pricing practices in New York. In 2017, Neely was the chair of the Task Force on Women's Issues, and in 2020, she was the chair of the Assembly's Office on State and Federal Relations, spending time in Washington as the liaison between members of the New York State Assembly and our federal representatives in the United States Congress. Assemblymember Rozek also serves on the Assembly's Ways and Means Committee, the Labor Committee, Committee on Corrections and Corporations, Authorities and Commissions. She's a member of the Black, Puerto Rican, Hispanic, and Asian Legislative Caucus and the Puerto Rican Hispanic Task Force. Neely's an outspoken advocate for working and middle-class families, immigrant communities, and students. She's already sponsored and passed legislative initiatives aimed at revitalizing New York's environment, expanding government transparency, and strengthening the state's workforce development system. She's also committed to social justice, equality, and opportunity for all. She has been presented with several honors and was named a rising star in the city and state's annual list of the next generation of political leaders for becoming an influential force in New York State politics as a young elected official. She was also selected as one of Jewish Week's 36 under 36 and has been a featured speaker in so many important conferences throughout the years dealing with issues that we all care so deeply about. A graduate of New York University, Neely proudly calls Fresh Meadows home. So it is, again, a wonderful personal privilege to present this year's honorees, Senator Anna Kaplan and Assemblymember Neely Rozek.
What Angel was just asking me to say is that what's framed in here is actually the bill that they wrote. So this is very, very poignant.
They are actually, it's copies of the legislation, right, that have been signed into law. We saw the picture up on the screen a little while ago. And as was mentioned before, getting a bill passed through the New York State Legislature and having it signed by the governor is not easy, especially for the issues that we care so deeply about, that we know are common sense resolutions, but even those are not easy. So to have them signed by the governor and to make policy for 20 million residents of the great state of New York, but also to serve as an important model for the rest of the country is really a tremendous, tremendous achievement. So again, thank you, Senator Kaplan and Assemblymember Rozek.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Anna Kaplan, and as it has been mentioned, I represent proudly the 7th Senate District. I'm honored to be standing here with all of you. And of course, I want to thank the organization for recognizing the work that we do. I have to tell you, as a Jewish political refugee, I am truly blessed. To say that I came to this country as a refugee and I'm elected to one of the highest offices in state of New York. Public servant is really an amazing thing for us who come here and who are beneficiaries of so many opportunities, and for us to give back in a way. I want to thank also all of my colleagues in government, my wonderful Comptroller, Tom DiNapoli, and really, I appreciate all of you being here and recognizing the work that we do. As a Jewish refugee, I couldn't be more proud to stand here to have sponsored a bill with my colleague Neely Rozek in Assembly. There is a big part of our history that is not a pleasant history. But the truth of the matter is, we need to teach history to our children and the generations to come. I'm a big believer. People who don't learn from history are damned to repeat it again. And this state that has been home to so many Holocaust survivors, to find out that we're not doing a good job teaching Holocaust in our schools, and it's not in a meaningful way, was just something that really bothered me a great deal. And I just would not take no for an answer, and I'm so proud to be standing here once we had the bill signed. I want to thank also my leader, Andrea Stewart-Cousins, and also want to thank Governor Hochul to see the importance of this bill and to get it signed right away. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. So my Jewish mother definitely made sure that I wrote things down, so you'll have to indulge me, if not for me, but for her. I'm Neely Rozek. I'm an assemblywoman in Eastern Queens. Thank you, Anna, for stamping my passport to make it over here. I want to thank the entire board of Voices for Truth and Humanity, including Jack and Glenn and Angel and Hank. Jack, who would text me and call me. We strategized at all hours, not just on this bill, but on Holocaust education across the state. Your dedication to teach all New York students what happens when anti-Semitism, racism, hate, xenophobia goes unchecked is unparalleled, and we thank you so much for all of the work that you do. 28 years later, after this initial law mandating Holocaust education, we are here today in this room, gathered to give this effort new life. You heard a lot about the legislation, so I won't belabor it, but as Senator Kaplan knows, this seemingly simple and straightforward bill had a long road to get there. I first authored and introduced this bill in 2017 after a Pew Research study found glaring Holocaust ignorance amongst my generation, millennials. That was then corroborated by a 2020 Claims Conference study. But these studies show what we already know. For so many of us, anti-Semitism still exists today, and it's actively on the rise. We saw it in Colleyville, Texas, in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in Jersey City, right here in New York, in Muncie. It's never ending on the streets of Queens and Brooklyn, where we hear stories of harassment and threats, and online, where we hear about Holocaust distortion and denial. They don't necessarily make the headlines every day, but they constitute the day-to-day experiences of so many Jewish New Yorkers. And we can't expect all of this to stop if we don't properly teach the lessons of the Holocaust. We cannot let the normalization of anti-Semitism occur. And that's why it's so incredible to have organizations invested deeply in the work of Holocaust education. So I'm just grateful to all of you for being here, for investing not just your time, but your energy and your funding. And to all of my colleagues and partners in government, from Tom DiNapoli all the way down to rank and file members of the Assembly, who when faced with doing what was right, stood up and stood up strongly. We couldn't have done it without every single voice. It really was a struggle. And of course, finally, to my partner in all of this, Senator Kaplan, who was fighting the fight so hard in the Senate to get this done, and when it seemed impossible, never gave up. Thank you so much. I'm very grateful, and hopefully we'll be celebrating even more success next year. Thank you.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. One of our core issues here is not only to make sure that there's a curriculum for teaching about Holocaust education, but also education on all genocides. And we brought a special guest from Washington, D.C. today to speak to us about the Uyghur genocide taking place in China. It is the Prime Minister of East Turkestan government in exile, Salih Hudayar. Salih, please join.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, I want to thank the Voices for Truth and Humanity for not only hosting tonight's important event, but for their gracious invitation for me to speak and to help raise awareness about the ongoing genocide of Uyghurs and other Turkic peoples in East Turkestan. As some of you might already be aware, I'm Salih Hudayar, an Uyghur American political refugee and Prime Minister of the East Turkestan government, in exile, in enforced exile. East Turkestan, our beloved, beautiful, and resourceful homeland, lies between Kazakhstan in the west, China in the east, India in the south, and Russia in the north. Since the 1949 takeover by Communist China, the people of East Turkestan, and particularly the Uyghurs, have been effectively rendered stateless. Today, nearly 73 years after the Chinese invasion of East Turkestan, the brutal atrocities of the Chinese Communist regime against the Uyghurs and other Turkic peoples have been officially recognized as genocide and crimes against humanity by several Western nations, including the United States government. In fact, at the beginning of this month, the UN came out with a report highlighting China's atrocities in East Turkestan, stating that it may constitute crimes against humanity. And of course, while this was not as strong as we had expected or hoped for due to Chinese government's extensive pressure on the UN, We feel that this will be a first step taken by the UN and encourage world governments and organizations across the world to take more meaningful and stronger actions. The Chinese government falsely claims that East Turkestan, which China calls Xinjiang, meaning the new colony or the new territory in the Chinese language, has been a part of China since ancient times. However, historical records show that China's claims are simply not true. Like the Jewish people, the Uyghurs have always resisted Chinese occupation and striven to restore their independence. China's ongoing genocide aims to eradicate Uyghur and other Turkic peoples and ensure that East Turkestan becomes a so-called inseparable part of China. China claims that it has brought development and modernization to East Turkestan, when it has brought nothing but colonization, indoctrination, forced assimilation, sterilization, and genocide. Uyghurs and other Turkic peoples have been systematically marginalized and driven into poverty by the Chinese government. Currently, millions of Uyghurs and other Turkic peoples are being used as slave labor by Chinese companies or are undergoing torture, political indoctrination, forced starvation, rape and other forms of sexual abuse, organ harvesting, sterilization, and even summary execution in Chinese concentration camps and prisons. At the same time, over 850,000 Uyghur and other Turkic children have been forcibly separated from their families and sent to state-run boarding schools and orphanages to be raised as, quote, loyal Chinese citizens, end quote. Our culture, our history, our religious freedom, and our very existence is being eroded by the Chinese Communist government. The plight of the Uyghur people of East Turkestan in many ways resembles the Jewish struggle to restore their rightful liberty. Today, we ask for your help. The Jewish nation has achieved the freedom that we are only dreaming of. They have overcome the Pharaoh of the past. They have managed to rescue their imprisoned and persecuted from the former Soviet Union and other parts of the world. They have rebuilt their land and shown the world that justice can take place. I am personally a fan of the Bielski brothers and their selfless service to their people. A scene in the well-known movie The Defiance illustrates a moment when the brothers agreed to take action. Only once the weakest among the people will also be allowed to escape. We, the Uyghurs and the other Turkic peoples of East Turkestan, are at that low point in our history. We are seeking allies to stand with us against the dragon that conquered and devastated our land. Now that dragon is devouring our people. In 2021, last year, Israel voted in the UN Human Rights Council to condemn China's atrocities against our people in East Turkestan, while most of the Muslim countries across the world, with the exception of Albania, either stood in silence or supported the Chinese government's atrocities in East Turkestan. Since the 1990s, the Chinese government has also been harvesting the organs of Uyghur and other Turkic prisoners in East Turkestan. After launching its ongoing campaign of genocide in East Turkestan in May 2014, the Chinese government has also been harvesting and selling the organs of Uyghur and other Turkic victims of China's concentration camps and prisons to wealthy Muslims in the Middle East as so-called halal organs. Tragically, many Muslim countries are helping China facilitate its ongoing genocide against the people of East Turkestan due to their close economic and political relations with China. In 2008, due to reports of forced organ harvesting in China and in East Turkestan, Israel was the first in the world to ban organ transplant tourism. Professor Jacob Levy of the Sheba Medical Center played a vital role in enacting the law prohibiting Israelis from obtaining organs in China for transplant surgeries. What Uyghurs need today is a modern-day Raoul Wallenbergs. And I believe that there's plenty more that Jewish and Israeli organizations can do to help East Turkestani victims of Chinese communist brutality. And who knows, maybe one day East Turkestan will also be part of the Abraham Accords and enjoy warm relations with other friendly nations in the Middle East. May the upcoming Rosh Hashanah be a sweet new year for the Jewish nation and the people of Israel. Please pray for our people to see some happiness too. Shana Tova u'Mektuba.
Rabbi Potasnik is the Executive Vice President of the New York Board of Rabbis and the largest interdenominational rabbinic body in the world. He's a spiritual and educational leader of Congregation Mount Sinai in Brooklyn Heights. He's presently Rabbi Emeritus. Potasnik has served as chaplain of the New York Fire Department since 1999 and helped families cope with the disaster of September 11th. He is also the co-host, along with the Reverend A.R. Bernard, of The Rev and the Rabbi, which airs every Sunday morning on WABC Talk Radio. He is the religious commentator for 1010 Winds Radio and is the host of the television program Faith to Faith on JBS, which is seen around the country. The rabbi was appointed by Mayor Rudolph Giuliani and reappointed by Mayor Michael Bloomberg to the New York City Campaign Finance Board. Lastly, he also serves as a member of the New York Human Rights Commission and chaplain of the New York Press Club. Rabbi Potasnik, please take the stage.
Thank you so much. Firstly, thank all of you for being here tonight. I came from Manhattan, so you offer congestion but no pricing, and I thank you for that. Secondly, I want to commend Jack and Hank for their organizational skills. I am jealous of that kind of talent because I remember years ago when I first became a rabbi, the congregation was in downtown Brooklyn on Skirmahorn Street. We had a daily minyan. And one day, we had 9 people. So I stood in front of the synagogue, trying to find one more. A gentleman walks by and said, "Excuse me, sir, are you Jewish?" He said, "Yes, I am." So would you come in and help us make the minyan? We need just one more. He said, "Sir, I don't believe in organized religion." I said, "Sir, if we were organized, would I be standing on the street stopping people as they walk by?" So really, you deserve much commendation for organizing this. I want to share with you a wonderful story that was told to me by Frank Siller, who's the CEO of the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Frank came from a poor family. It was his first communion. And as Tom DiNapoli will explain to you, that's the equivalent of a Catholic bar mitzvah. And he received a total of $28. He was thrilled. He never had $28. His parents said to him, "But Frank, it's your communion. You have to do something who's less fortunate than you are." So he gave $14 out of the 28 to a poor woman down the street. And then he said to me, "Rabbi, I always remember what I gave, but I don't remember what I did with what I kept." You want to know about Mark Golub? Look at what he's given to the Jewish community. It's very fitting that he's here tonight for Voices for Truth and Humanity, because he's been a voice. The word for community in Hebrew, kihilah, has the word kol, voice, in it. You're not going to be an effective community unless you have a voice. He's allowed all of us to be that voice. I've come to learn over the years that goodness and greatness are 2 independent qualities. I see people who have greatness in their professions, but they don't have goodness. I see people who have goodness, but they never achieve greatness. You have someone here today who synthesizes both qualities. He's good and he's great. So we had a magazine years ago, some of you may remember, called Life. After Life, we had a magazine called People. After people, we had a magazine called Us. After Us, we had a magazine called Self. So we started with life, we went to self. But we Jews read from right to left. So it may begin with self, but ultimately it's about us as a people, with someone like Mark Golub, who stands up with that voice to make sure that in this life there is dignity for our people. It's a great honor to present you, Mark, with the Media Award.
Ill for a couple of years, and I'm doing much, much, much better. So although you see me in a wheelchair, I am basically me. I just can't walk yet, but that'll happen very soon. I have 3 things to say. Actually, I have 4 things to say now. I did not expect what I just heard. It gave me chills, Joe. And you know how much I love you and respect you. By the way, if people do not know, Joe Potasnik is the leading #1 organizational rabbi in the United States of America, and he deserves an incredible applause. You've already tasted his sense of humor, and if it weren't for the fact that he roots for the Boston Red Sox, he would be perfect. First of all, I received the invitation from Hank, and I was told that he would like to honor JBS television. By the way, just out of curiosity, does anybody here watch JBS? If so, raise your hand. Well, that's lovely. All 3 of you. That's Channel 138 on Cablevision Optimum. What is it?
$7.98 on Verizon.
$7.98 on Verizon, although is Verizon in this county? Okay, and also DirecTV. I may remember DirecTV. Anyway, JBS is America's Jewish television channel. It celebrates all things Jewish and expands Jewish understanding. And as you already heard, one of the people you would see on JBS is Joe Potasnik. But if you care about the state of Israel, if you care about the issues of anti-Semitism, if you care about the future of the Jewish people in the United States, and if you just enjoy being Jewish, JBS is a channel, once you turn on, you may never turn off. So I'm sitting there and I get an invitation from Hank that says that the Voices of Truth and Humanity want to recognize JBS for its work in combating anti-Semitism and the work we do fighting BDS, which has already been referred to, and in general, going after anyone who denies the reality of the Holocaust. And I was enormously flattered. And I said, yeah, I did some due diligence. What's the organization about? And it was very impressive to me. And I told Hank I would be flattered to be here. But I want to say to Jack, I don't know where's Jack? Here. Okay, Jack, I want you to know, this is a wow. Anybody who came here tonight, we are being given a wow. You know, to be with the legislators who have done such fabulous work. And I'm not from Nassau County, I'm not from Suffolk County, I'm not a Long Island kid. So I'm learning all these names. Obviously, I know the name Tom DiNapoli, and Mazal Tov to you, Tom. But to the 2 from the New York State Senate and from the New York State Assembly, 2 women who are incredibly impressive, incredibly well-spoken, represent the state of New York and the Jewish people in a magnificent way. Who knew? Now I know. And Jack, I am so flattered not only to be asked to be here, but to be in the presence of such extraordinary men and women. So I thank you for that. That's number one. Number two is the following. If you watch JBS, all four of you, you should know that as much as I take pride in having created JBS, it does not operate alone. I have a superb, wonderful staff in front of the camera and behind the camera. They're located at table 7, and I would impose upon them to stand for one moment together that we can applaud your work. Thank you very much. I appreciate every single one of you. I also have just a couple other people I want to just mention and show to you. I've been fortunate my entire television life and my entire life to have been blessed with an extraordinary brother who is a lawyer in Connecticut of outstanding quality, and he has been my partner in everything we have done. I'm not going to ask him to stand, maybe he'll raise his hand, but for David Golub, a round of applause, please. By the way, David and I also produce Broadway shows, and for some reason people think that's more important than JBS. We've won 3 Tonys. Oh, you've won 3 Tonys? Yeah, I created JBS. Okay, but you won 3 Tonys. Yeah. David and I won 3 Tonys. And second, every parent who is fortunate enough to work with a child knows what a gift that is. And especially during my illness, JBS has been run masterfully by Vice President and Managing Director of JBS, my daughter, Dara Golub. Stand for 1 minute. Okay. And finally, nothing I have ever accomplished in life has been without the help of my wife, Ruth. Her name is on everything I have ever done. She is the loveliest thing God ever made. She's right here, just raise your hand. And for Ruth. All right, lastly. Martin Block, I have not been introduced to you. Could you raise your hand? I want to speak to you for one moment. First of all of you should know Martin was in the Bielski brothers, who were in, who led a partisan group against the Nazis in World War II. And you may have read about the Bielski brothers in a marvelous book by Nechama Tech, which is called Defiance. And a movie was made starring Craig of the same name, Defiance. And the fact that you are with us, and the fact that you are a survivor, by the way, you're not only a survivor, you're a hero. You're a hero of Jewish life over the last 70 years. What you gave of yourself is indescribable. And as far as JBS is concerned, one of the things that we are dedicated to doing is honoring you, Martin, and every survivor who somehow was able, whether it was by dint of luck or by some act of unusual courage, was able to survive and then come and discuss with us, tell us, reveal to us the most beastly horror ever perpetrated on human beings by human beings. And I was very impressed by the Prime Minister. And Prime Minister, I don't know where you are. Prime Minister, every one of us hopes that in the very near future, your people will enjoy the kind of goodness and life and health that the Jewish people have been able to create with the modern state of Israel. All of us wish you the very, very best. But in contrast, what Martin Bloch fought and lived, and is now here as a living testimony, is the most brutal period, the darkest night in human history, when a Nazi war machine took relish in torturing Jews, beating Jews, starving Jews, drowning Jews, gassing Jews, shooting Jews, burning Jews. And we all know Jews were not the only victims in the Holocaust. And there's always the discussion in the Jewish community, should we talk about the 6 million or the 11 million? But the truth is that the Nazi war machine singled out the Jew in a way that they singled out none other. And this is our family's pain. And Martin, I wish I had been there for you. I wish I could have held you and hugged you and kissed you and done anything I could have that would have made your night one less bit horrible. And for me, whether it's Yom HaShoah, whether it's an organization that is dedicated to the betterment of humanity, trying to fight all hatred, but starting with, and you heard it said beautifully tonight, BDS, the attempt to undermine the state of Israel, anti-Semitism in the streets of New York and in the streets of America. And every one of us, Martin, in your name, we will fight that. We will fight that forever. Kol tuva hatzlacha to you. Thank you for your service and for your life and for what you symbolize. And we love you very, very much.
Another round of applause, please, for our
What I can say after you here, Golub, he's such a wonderful, inspiring person. And I've been a guest in his show a few times, and it felt like being in a Jewish heaven. It's so wonderful. So let me just say that I'm Israel, 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 Oh, Davino, Chai, oh, Davino, Chai, oh, Davino, oh, Davino, oh, Davino, Chai, oh, Davino, Chai, oh, Davino, Chai, oh, Yerushalayim בין חומות העיר, לך ירושלים אור חדש יאיר, בליבנו רק שיר אחד קיים, לך ירושלים בין ירדן From the Jordan to the sea, sing Jerusalem. From the hills of Galilee, sing Jerusalem. In the mountains, in the valleys, the golden bells are ringing. Long shall live Jerusalem. Lift your voice and sing. בליבנו רק שיר אחד קיים, לך ירושלים בין ירדן בים. Papa, thank you so much. I know one song that he likes very much, but I'm, as somebody whose family also was impacted by those great tragedy, there's one Yiddish song that I'm thinking about, talks about the poor calf who's being led to slaughter by the peasant. Everybody knows it. It's a song in Yiddish. Oy van Poel liegt a Kerber, liegt gebunden mit a Strick. Euch im Himmel fliegt a Schwärmer, freit sich hin und zurück. Lacht wohnt in Lohen, lacht und lacht und lacht, lacht ob a Tag ganzen ohne halbe Nacht. Join me. Donna, 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 donna. Schlägt das Kälber, lacht Feuer, welche heißt ich sein a Kalb, was kein kann doch sein a Vogel, was kann doch sein a Schwalb. Lacht Wind in Korn, lacht und lacht und lacht, lacht ob a Tag a ganzen ohne halbe Nacht. Donna, 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 dai. Donna, 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 Thank you very much. I'm hungry too. So, one more. Would you like to hear one more? Which one? Oh, yes. It's your favorite. Okay. Shabbat Mashiach, yes, was my biggest hit in 1967, the Six-Day War. He's telling me that his wife fell in love with the album cover that I bought. What can I tell you? She had good taste. Come Italia בארץ, ותרמילו במקל, ובני תפגוש בדרך, שוב את ארץ ישראל. יברכו אותך דרכיה של הארץ הטובה, היא תקרא אותך אליה כמו אל ארץ אהבה. זו אכן אותה הארץ ואותה האדמה ואותה פיסת הסלע הניצבת בחמה ומתחת לאספלט לבנייני הרבה מסתתרת המולדת ביישנית בענווה. Come with me and walk the country. There's so much to show and tell. See the glory and the wonder of our Eretz Yisrael. Let the winding road embrace you. Listen to the mountains call. Every little step you're taking brings you closer to your soul. So come and walk the fields, touch the sweet land, see the beauty of the earth. From the hills down to the white sands, she's your dream and she's your faith. Down the road hear the children sing, the voices ringing like a bell. And you know that you love her so, and you'll always love Eretz Yisrael. קום ויתהלך בארץ, בתרמיל ובמקל, וודאי תפגוש בדרך שוב את ארץ ישראל. תודה רבה. Thank you very much.
It was really a privilege to be here tonight to listen to some amazing stories. And that video, we are not teaching history in school, are we? If we haven't seen that video before tonight, there's a lot more work to be done. So for those of you who produced it, thank you. Thank you for raising our awareness. I'm privileged to accept this award on behalf of my colleague and good friend, Davy Sopalis, who joined City National Bank 5 years ago to plant our first flag on Long Island, which we've since grown into a full regional center in Melville. Now, Davy regretfully had to quarantine and was disappointed to miss this important event this evening. She did ask me to say a few words on her behalf. She wants to thank Jack Britvin for inviting her to be an honoree at this event. She's humbled by the good people who have formed and run this volunteer organization. The mission of this organization to support ongoing education for students on the Holocaust is critical. I think we all agree on that. We must work together to eradicate hatred, foster kindness and inclusion, so that history does not repeat itself. Please help spread the word of this organization through your various social media accounts and networks to increase the effort. And before I go, one last word to Rabbi Golub. Rabbi, I was glad to hear you are the winner of 3 Tony Awards. City National Bank's been the official bank for the last 3 years, so. Have a good evening. Thank you. Oh.
Thank you.
He has a notable career in commercial real estate, and he has been honored by his peers, having received the Commercial Brokers Society Distinguished Leadership Award. He is nothing if not generous and charitable. For more than 20 years, he was on the board of Long Island American Cancer Society, and he helped raise millions of dollars in the hope of finding cure for cancer. He was a catalyst in creating in Nassau County smoking ban that has only gained traction throughout the United States since then. He is very energetic, charismatic, and passionate person. Anything he does and he touches. In 2019, he helped found the Volunteer Voices for Truth and Humanity, for which we are gathering here tonight. Please join me in welcoming Voices Board President, Jack Britvin.
Hi, welcome everybody. First of all, I'd like to have all veterans please stand. If you're a veteran, please stand. I've never had the honor, and I'm not sure that I would have the ability, but I guess you develop the ability. And there's one person, a new board member, recent board member, the most recent, I'd say, of Voices, that started out saying that I don't think I can do it. I can't talk to people, I can't ask for people anything, and I explained, when you realize that you're doing it for other people and you're not doing it for yourself, after a while it'll click in and you'll be able to ask, and then it's going to get to the point to where you won't be able to stop asking because you realize you're trying to help them, okay, and that they need to realize that. So just have a small acknowledgement to Gary Glick, one of the head Jewish war veterans. Just a little something to surprise him. He couldn't do it, and couldn't do it. Now he can't stop doing it. For our 2019 Remembrance Award dinner, for the first time, we gave out the Good Guy Award, which went out right over there to Don Johansson, who was with American Cancer Society for over 30 years, raised millions of dollars for him, did so much for other organizations, and no one never acknowledged him. They never honored him. He wouldn't want to be acknowledged or whatever, but we made sure that we embarrassed him and we honored him. Last year, November, really didn't, no one really, came up over there that said, wow, this person, they slip by. No one's paying attention. And all of a sudden it just came to me that there's somebody that no matter what anybody asks for, if it's for a good cause, he jumps up and he gives of himself. He has a huge network and he just keeps giving no matter what it is. And I've never heard of him being honored. I've never heard of him getting any recognition. And he probably knows because it's in the journal, but he had no idea coming here today. Please come up, Mr. Jeff Weiner. And he's a big Met fan. He donated tickets out there without even asking. And you got a Mike Piazza.
Very cool. Thank you. So I'm wearing this mask because my daughter's getting married next Saturday, and she said, if you're going out in public, you better wear a mask. So that's why. I'm stunned. I mean, I had no idea this was happening, so I really didn't prepare anything. But I obviously have to thank my wife, Helene, because without her support in the business and giving me the time to do fundraising with my organization, I wouldn't be doing this. I have an organization called 5 and Alive, which is in honor of my daughter, who's a stage 4 Hodgkin's cancer survivor, that we started fundraising 5 years ago. And thanks to a lot of people here and just people I know, this year we just passed raising $1.2 million for nonprofits. I don't know what else to say. I've always done fundraising, and to me, giving back, because I'm very blessed and everything is great, and so I really appreciate the honor, and thank you.
In 1981, I canvassed a customer, Frequency Electronics, and the CEO and chief scientist and 10 of the different titles, his name was Martin Block. And I was in the business for only 4 years. And for some reason, he either took a liking to me or didn't know what he was doing and hired me. And he made a mistake. And until about 4 years ago, I never knew he was a Holocaust survivor. And we're having lunch one day, and he asked me if I ever saw the movie Defiance. And I said, yes. And afterwards he said, come back to the office, and on his desk he has a DVD of Defiance. He said, that's me. I said, what do you mean that's you? He said, I was the youngest Belevsky partisan. I said, what? And he starts telling me about his brother, Sam Bloch, who was one of the people responsible for the Holocaust Museum in Washington and other endeavors. And Sam had passed away. You can see in the journal a note about Sam's life. And Martin said that he is going to, forever, speak out about the Holocaust, speak about what needs to be done, speak about what he went through, speak about what others have gone through, to educate. And it's my pleasure to call up right now Mr. Martin Bloch.
I had a tradition with my brother who was always raising funds for various causes that a speaker should be limited to 3 minutes. So I'm going to do my best. Just a short introduction to my life. I was in a Bell Scare trial. I was 5 years old, and when the war was finished, I was just younger of 10. And if I weren't in the Belskis, I wouldn't be here. Since, as you know, most Jewish boys did not have the opportunity to survive the Holocaust on this point. I lecture a great deal on 2 subjects. One is space timing navigation, which is my professional specialty, and the second, which is an obligation which I promised my brother, and this that I will continue in his footsteps, is to keep everybody aware on what happened to the Holocaust and what happened during the Second World War and the ignorance that exists in the United States and probably the whole world. And I'll give you one simple example. I gave a lecture 2 years ago in the Catholic schools in Baltimore to 300 students, 8th through 12th grade. And I asked them how much they know about the Second World War on this point, and 9 or 10 kids, raised their hands because it's fun to challenge the speaker. And I established a rapport with young people. I'm very lucky that way. And one says, 1 million people were killed during the Second World War. And the other says, you don't know what you're talking about. 3 million people were killed to the Second World War. And that brings me to my challenge and why I'm speaking here. Because I think it's very important to teach the next generation on the risk of the unknown. And I'm sure that many people over here don't realize that in addition to the 6 million Jews and 5 million other innocent minorities that were murdered during the war, the total casualties of the Second World War was 70 million people. That's more than the population of England. And I think it's imperative that the next generation be educated and be aware that they have to safeguard the future if they want to have a peaceful existence in the area. So I will continue in my mission to lecture to schools, and at the same time, of course, I can't give up my electronics because that's my first love. I'm very happy to say that my whole family is involved in the project. Tatiana is a member of the board on this. Anna Sophia has been involved in Holocaust project in the museum, and my oldest daughter and granddaughter went to Bergen-Belsen because me and Tatiana unfortunately couldn't go. We got COVID just a week before, so we couldn't go in this area. But the basic idea, which I want to call everybody's attention, it is imperative to realize that the inhumanity of man to man is unbelievable. Berlin was one of the brightest cities in 1922 on this, and then within a period of 10 years it became the center for manslaughter of 70 million people. So we can see, if we let our guards down, that we can pay a very heavy price in a very short period of time. So I'd urge everybody that can, is basically to make sure that We remember the 6 million Jews in the Holocaust and the 5 million others that were perished on this, and to be on guard and make sure that we do our best to prevent the future to be brighter for our next generation. Thank you all. My limit is 3 minutes.
Good evening, everyone. It's so nice to see all of you here briefly this evening. The beautiful individuals who you saw on that video a moment ago are the wonderful residents of our assisted living facility known as Fay J. Linda Residences, and we're very proud to have them as members of our community. I'd want to just say a couple of thanks first. Angel Cepeda, he and I have a past life and a history and a friendship, and it's been very nice to reunite with Angel recently, as he's a very important town official in the town of Huntington, and Gerwin is in the town of Huntington. So thank you, Angel, for all of your support, for all that we do. It's very important to us. But at a lunch a few months ago, Angel introduced me to Jack Britvan, and I was very moved by what Jack spoke about with regard to Voices for Truth and Humanity and what you're all about. We share a very similar mission at Gerwin in taking care of those who are often been affected by adverse events in their lives, whether it be health or situations such as the Holocaust. So very much appreciate all that you do. And I'm here representing, a very important system that takes care of the community, and appreciate all of your support, and it's great seeing many wonderful friends here this evening. We happen to have, on that video, you saw several of those, again, beautiful residents of our community. 2 of them are here this evening, and I just want to point them out if they give us a wave. Herman Gans. Herman? Everyone loves Herman, and Herman is very happy to have a change of pace and have different food tonight. So, Herman, please send him home with some food. And also, the lovely Celia Borenstein is here. Celia, give us a wave. Celia is literally adorable and is a wonderful driving spirit that she's had her whole life. These individuals and those who spoke on that video have had very difficult times in their lives and have suffered great horrors and tragedy. And yet they're here, and we're able to honor them and really acknowledge all that they've been through in their lives. And what's most important for all of us is truly that we never forget. So thank you all for being here and for allowing us to serve as a sponsor this evening. This is such a wonderful cause. Thank you so much.
Okay? All right, guys.
Jerusalem of gold. Avir harim tzalul kayani vereach orani nisa beruach ha'arva'im im kol pa'amonim ובתרדמת אילן ואבן שויה בחלומה העיר אשר בדד יושבת ובליבה חומה ירושלים של זהב ושל נחושת ושל אור הלא לכל שירייך אני כינור ירושלים של זהב ושל נחושת ושל אור הלא לכל שירייך אני כינור My simple voice cannot acclaim thee, too weak the words I use. Jerusalem, if I forget thee, may my right hand its power lose. Yerushalayim shel zahav v'shel choshed v'shel or, alo lechol Six-Day War, after 19 years where Jerusalem was not in our hands. And I had a few hits in those days, and one of them is called Sharm el-Sheikh, the Strait of the Red Sea. Egypt, Nasser used to be the ruler of Egypt, and he drove away the UN observers, and he made a blockade on the Straits of the Red Sea. So Israel went south to break the blockade, and on the road, 3 of our soldiers, including myself, wrote that song, The Road to Sharm el-Sheikh. גדול הוא הלילה ולך מחייך חזרנו עם בוקר אל שארם א-שייח עברנו בלילה בים אוהב הובלנו עם בוקר אל כוכב איתן עד שארם א-שייח חזרנו אל העיר שלי היא הרבה ליבנו תמיד. I walk in the darkness, my steps in the sand. I'm walking in silence, a soldier again. The tanks keep on moving, the cannon still roars, and some men are dying. There will be some more. Oh, Sharm el-Sheikh, you harbor of sand and of sea. You tell us why now, why this has to be. עולנו הבוקר בחוף אלמוגים ראשו במים ספינות דייגים יורד לו הכלב מביא עוד חלום מביא על המים תקווה לשלום עד שארם א-שייח חזרנו אל העיר שלי על בליבנו ליבנו תמיד עד שארם א-שייח. Not bad, not bad. Hallelujah. Oh, who's that? You know all the good songs, all the hits. All right, let's see what's in it. Hallelujah. Loud, loud. Hallelujah. היום של עולם במילה אחת בודדה הלב מלא בהמון תודה והולם גם הוא איזה עולם נפלא הללויה עם השיר הללויה על יום של colleges, and I was here during the 60s, and the hallelujah I remember was, Michael rowed about the shore, hallelujah. Michael rowed about the shore, hallelujah. Sister helped to trim the sail, hallelujah. Sister helped to trim the sail, hallelujah. Oh, Michael rowed the boat ashore. Everybody sing with me. Hallelujah. Michael rowed the boat ashore, hallelujah. Jordan River is deep and cold, hallelujah. It chills the body, but not the soul, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Jordan River is deep and wide, hallelujah. I've got a home on the other side. I don't mean Jordan. Yeah. Oh, Michael rowed about the shore. Hallelujah. Michael rowed about the shore. Hallelujah. Okay.
Thank you.
My pleasure. It's really like a kumsitz in Israel. You sit around this, in a kumsitz you sing, Arumach noshevet rira, nozivrat kisam lamdura, vechas bizroot argaman, va'esh ya'ale kekorban, האש מהבהבת שירה מלבלבת, סובב לא סובב הפנקן. האש מהבהבת שירה מלבלבת, סובב לא סובב הפנקן. May your life be full of songs. And if not, you just call me and I'll sing a few songs for you.
We would be pleased to send a complimentary DVD of this program to anyone who wishes to support JBS with a tax-deductible gift of $36, double chai or more. Simply visit the JBS website at jbstv.org and click on the Donate button to make a donation by PayPal or your credit card. And please indicate the program for which you would like a DVD. Or you can send your tax-deductible check to JBS, Post Office Box 360, Stamford, Connecticut 06904. Or you can call the JBS Pledge Line at 833-MY-JBS-TV. That's 833-695-2788. And again, please remember to indicate which program you would like to receive with our compliments. We thank you for your kind support.